Franklin D. Roosevelt once said, "Real estate cannot be lost or stolen, nor can it be carried away. Purchased with common sense, paid for in full, and managed with reasonable care, it's about the safest investment in the world." And real estate is what we do. This is the Realtors Radio Network. There's no sense in overcomplicating real estate. And if you're a first-time home buyer, an investor, or a real estate agent, you're about to get useful, practical, and smart advice on every facet of real estate. Welcome to the Realtors Radio Network. Now your hosts, Santos Garcia, Marcos Suarez, and Dawn McCullough.
Welcome to Realtors Radio Network. Today, we have a special guest. And you only see three of us here today because, Santos, our usual host, Dawn, our usual host, and me, our usual host, are all interviewing a special person. And that special person is Dawn. So today, Dawn, the special guest is Dawn. We're going to ask her a few things because apparently, we've been getting emails, calls, and some people popping by the studio asking us, why haven't we interviewed Dawn yet?
Yes.
So what do you think, Santos? We can handle this today?
Definitely. Dawn, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
So we're gonna start off, with our usual questions. We're gonna ask you our usual questions, but we may have others. But you've been in the real estate game a long time, so we ask people for one crazy story. We're gonna ask for two from you. So I'm giving you that heads up now.
Geez, okay.
Maybe three.
I didn't get any
three.
advance notice on this.
But we'll start off with the usual question. Tell us how you got started in real estate.
Okay, well, many moons ago, Marcos, this guy right here, had kind of planted that seed in my head, and so my older brother and I had decided to take that advice and go to real estate school, and having no idea what we were about to get into. We were both very young, and it kind of just started from there. I actually I remember like it was yesterday, sitting in that class and the instructor saying, maybe only one of you will actually be successful and make a career out of this. And I thought that was really mean. It actually hurt my feelings for a second. I was like, is he talking to me? There was 30, 35 people in the class. And I thought, wow, don't you want to be positive and motivational and all this? And, fast forward, I realized that he was telling the truth, but you don't think about it at the time. You think it's kind of mean. And anyway, so here I am. My brother and I are still in the business, but I don't think anybody else in the class still exists.
So he was right.
He was right.
He was right. But, just like I think anything in life, we don't realize some of the things even that our parents say or teach us or others. We don't think at the time that they're right. And then it takes those maybe growing pains or just life lessons or maybe just age or getting older and wiser to realize that they were right.
Yeah. Actually, he was wrong because he said only one of you guys. He got two great agents from that class.
Yeah. It's funny. I was just thinking, as you were saying that, I was thinking about, back, I don't know, ages ago, 20, 30 years ago, in colleges, they used to have this speech, when your first day of college, you had this whole auditorium, full of people, and the professor or whoever it was that day would say, look to the left, look to the right of you, and, some of you, one of these two or possibly none of the two that you're looking at either side of you will be here at the end of the 4 years. And you'd be wondering, man, I wonder if I'm not going to be here or if this person here is not going to be. So it's funny that they, that professor of yours, that teacher of yours said that, because I wonder if people say that anymore, if they still say that. or is everything online and there's nobody to look at?
Oh, yeah.
I do remember something that one of my college professors said. I can never forget it. I remember exactly who he is, what he looks like. I remember the room, everything. And he brings up this thought, and he says, if you buy a movie ticket, right? And at the time, it was probably $10 to go to the movies. If you buy a movie ticket, right, you pay $10. You don't dare show up late, and you definitely don't leave early, right?
Right.
For $10.
Right.
But people will pay college tuition, thousands of dollars, especially today, it's tens of thousands of dollars.
Right.
And maybe show up late and maybe not show up at all.
At all, yeah.
And most definitely probably leave early. Maybe even show up in their pajamas.
And they're paying thousands of dollars for that. And,
Yes.
and they show up
pay
late.
full price for it.
Yeah.
And when you think about that, it's so interesting. Like, the analogy is so interesting because he's right. 100% right.
Yes,
I don't know
yeah.
how it is now because everything's virtual and
But it's true.
online,
You
but-
try not to get to the movies late, and it's only $20 for the ticket, or $15 or whatever it is.
what movie theater
then-
is that? I just need to know.
But it's like, why would you show up, late for something so important? And that's just a movie.
Yes.
You're showing up early sometimes, most times, because you even want to try and catch the previews, But for something like a real estate appointment, a realtor showing up late, that's not, not
No
good.
bueno.
Not good.
No
That's
bueno.
not good. It's not a good look. Well, it's funny. You guys know that I teach a real estate course, and one of my most successful students, who is not brand new in the industry at all, he's been in the industry longer than I have, but he still took the course. He was my most successful student, and I asked him, what made him be so motivated to do the activities that I taught in the course. And there was a slight pause, and he looked at me and he said, I paid for the class. And it made me pause because guess what? Every person in that class paid for the class, right? But not every person took it the way he did, right? He basically said, I paid for it, I'm going to do it, right?
Right.
Think about it at a restaurant. Like, people say, hey, I paid for that meal, I'm going to eat the whole thing. And if I don't, I'm going to take it with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he took it so seriously, but it wasn't anything earth-shattering that he said to me. I thought he was going to say something really wild. I don't even know what I thought he was going to say. And it just made me take a step back for a second. And it reminded me of my college professor.
Well, thinking about, when somebody tells you something like that and the answer is simple, and in most cases, the answer is simple.
Yes.
It really is. For some people, it's the value that they place, the money that they spend. Okay, I spent money on this. I'm going to, dedicate myself to whatever it is I just spent my money on.
Sure.
But some people, maybe they've had it a little bit too easy, or maybe things are too comfortable, and they say it's only $10, it's only $30, but it's only $300 if you're doing well, and you don't mind it. I always remember my grandfather saying that 99 cents is not a dollar. If you see a penny on the floor, pick it up so you can complete that dollars. You don't have a dollar yet. You have 99 cents. Like, he used to place a lot of weight on, everything. It wasn't just
And
like
the value.
And then
right?
It's funny. I was thinking about this meme I saw earlier today, which actually used to be part of my signature, my email signature, before I have what I have today. It used to say, "How you do anything is how you do anything is how you do everything."
Yes.
Right.
Even the simplest task, however you do that, that's probably how you do everything else in your life. So, 99 cents is not a dollar. You pick up that penny. It means something.
Great investor mindset right there. I know the student that you're talking about, and it's just like, if you do something and you invest, and it doesn't have to necessarily be money. It could be time.
Time.
If you think on the ROI and you go through it, it will make things worth it, right? So
Absolutely.
he got so much value from the class.
Sure.
Right.
And I saw his business, spike tremendously
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that he didn't know the things that I was teaching. It was that he just took the time to say, listen, I'm going to put my head down. I believe in myself. I believe in this class, and I'm going to do it. Because the things that I teach it's not rocket science, right? It's not stuff that people don't know. It's just the reinforcement of things. It's I think doing the time blocking and scheduling to do the things that we need to do. I'm constantly reminding people of we all have the same 24 hours in the day, right?
Sure.
Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, us, whoever else, all those people, they don't have 28 hours in a day, right? They don't have 48 hours in a day. They still have the same 24 hours that we do. It's just what you do with them. How do you allocate them?
It only feels like we only have 10 and they have 24.
Yeah, but they don't have any kind of unfair advantage or anything like that.
No.
They still have the same 24 hours. And it's what you do with it. So yeah.
They do the thing.
Right.
They just do it.
They just do it.
Yep.
So what you had, the next question, what was the question you had?
Now, I guess we're just going to jump into what you did before real estate. I know you started like very young.
I was in diapers.
There was anything before?
Well, I was in college, right? I was in college. I started real estate school when I was 20 years old. And I literally jumped in, once I finished the class and got licensed, I jumped in literally as soon as I turned 21.
She's the queen of real estate.
That's her nickname, the queen of real estate. It's funny. I actually remember when we were sitting down filling out the paperwork at Weicker.
Sure, so do I.
You were just ready. When do we start the next? When do we start class? When do we? Because I was her mentor. I was decided. Let's get right into it. Decided to mentor her from day one that we started working. I said I'm going to teach her the way I learned it, so that there's no excuse, right? If she succeeds or fails, she had all the tools. So, do you remember the open houses? I used to make her
I do.
put out 8 or 10 open house signs. And they were the metal ones. They weren't these light, fluffy little plastic things.
Heavy ones.
They were heavy.
And I have to say, I thought he was a little mean, right? Like he would drive alongside and make sure that I was putting the signs out. They were going in the right place. Sometimes it would be pouring rain, and I'm like, this is mean, But honestly, it really made me the agent I am today. And I'll tell you that when I started in this
You're
business,
welcome.
Thank you very much. When I started in this business, it was completely different. And when I say completely different, I mean every aspect of it was different. But the biggest part of it was the average realtor was someone who was in the corporate world for 25, 30 years and either got laid off or retired, and then they were getting into real estate as kind of their second career. So I say that just to show you, people were maybe in their mid-60s or older. And here I am as a 21-year-old, probably looked like I was 12. And they were really not too nice to me. People would come up to me and say, when are you going to get a real job? When are you going to get out of here and get yourself a real job? And, that kind of thing. And at the time, I started to really think, am I doing the wrong thing? I had really heavily focused on maybe doing pharmaceutical sales, actually. And, it made me think about, why are all these people saying it? And I remember within my first year in real estate, I became a mentor. I was Rookie of the Year.
That's right.
And I became a mentor. And I remember one of the very first people I was mentoring happened to be somebody who I went to high school with, their father, right? So that was just like a weird concept, right? Like here I am, I'm 21 years old, and now I'm mentoring this person who's like in his mid-60s or whatever, I don't know. And I'll never forget it. It was Super Bowl Sunday, and by like Tuesday, Wednesday during the week, you're kind of planning out your weekend. And I'm not a big football fan. I'm sorry. It's just a sport I never got into. But halftime is great. The halftime show at the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, let me clarify
at the
that.
Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yes. But I remember saying, hey, you have to come to an open house. You have to shadow and just, understand how it works, how it's done, the whole process. And he says, now the weekend before it happened to snow, so it had to get canceled. So now fast forward, we're on the next weekend, it's Super Bowl Sunday. And he says, I can't. It's the Super Bowl. He's like, I'm not going to an open house. And I said, well, what do you mean? The Super Bowl is at like 7 o'clock at night, or I don't know, whatever. Apparently, it's a whole 24-hour celebration. Actually, more than that, because it's the day after and it's everything. I said, well, what do you mean? You have to come. You have to come shadow this. It got canceled the week before. You have no choice. Because as a mentor, I had to report back to my manager, Marcos, and even his manager, right? We couldn't even walk into the room for an office meeting without handing in our sheets.
Right.
And did the mentees do all the activities? And if they didn't, it was sort of a reflection of us. And, at that moment, I realized, man, this guy's not going to make it, and he didn't. He literally dropped down after that.
Right.
But anyways, so yeah, before real estate, I was in college.
All right.
Okay.
Still in college, actually, when I started.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
You mentioned that on your first year, you was rookie of the year, right?
Yes.
And here you mentoring somebody on your first year, which a lot of people would listen to that and they would say, "Oh, this is easy, right? I'm just gonna walk into this business. I'm gonna get my real estate license, and I'm gonna be successful, and I'm gonna be rookie of the year, and I'm gonna be mentoring people, right?" But there's a lot of work that needs to be put in order to get to where you at right now.
Right.
Yes.
And you're telling the story of that person that you try to mentor. He didn't want to do the work, and of course he's not in business now.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about all that hard work that went into your first year, like the systems that you.
So I'm going to save her a little bit of embarrassment on that. So I'll tell that part of the story since I remember managing this, and I remember.
Well, I do have to say
you.
one thing. I have to kind of give the appetizer to the story, right?
Go ahead.
So, at 21 years old, right, your friends are not buying houses.
Right.
At least my friends. My friends at the time were not buying houses. My family and everybody I knew I was brand new, knew that I never owned a home before at that time. I'd never even been to an open house, right? And here I am. I'm going to jump into real estate. I looked at some people who are, wealthy and they all own real estate and their successes were from real estate. I heard stories from Marcos, very real estate concentrated. And here I am. I'm going to enter this, this ring. And I don't have people that are going to send me business. My family's not going to send me business. My friends aren't buying houses. And so I'm kind of thrown in this fire with, I guess a lot of people have this expectation of, I'm going to get into real estate and my family is going to be obligated to buy and sell all their homes through me and all my friends. And that's far from the truth. You have to earn that business. Doesn't matter who they are. Doesn't matter if it's your own parents. You have to earn that business. And so here I am, 21 years old, with no one to sort of rely on giving me, so to speak, because that's what people think in this industry, that everything's given. And it's not, because it's earned. But here I am without that maybe support system, in that, I'm feeling like I wouldn't even buy a house from me right now, right? At 21 years old.
Because you're so new, right?
Right.
That's funny.
So go ahead. I'll let you tell that part of it.
So she's brand new in the business, but with a tenacity that you would only see in a boxer, with a tenacity that you would only see in some super athlete, in the sense that if I gave her a task, she would do it, even if she was uncomfortable. I remember asking her, we come from this old school world of making cold calls, of knocking on a door, of doing these things that have always been done in real estate, right? And I remember asking her to, I ripped out a page out of the yellow book, right?
The phone book. For those of you that don't know what that is.
What is that?
It looks like a Bible. It looks like an encyclopedia about this big, full of, telephone numbers of people in
It
town.
looks like
right?
the Sears catalog.
But which nobody knows about.
Right.
You're dating yourself. So I rip out a page out of the phone book, and I said, "This is your page. You have to call everyone on this page." She breaks out into a sweat. She doesn't like making phone
I
calls.
have to call until I get an appointment. Like, you can't leave.
And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" And she starts sweating. And I'm like, "Calm down. It's going to be okay." No, I don't want to make these phone calls. I don't want to call in front of anybody. I don't want to. So I said, "You see that room over there? You're going to lock yourself in that room." Do you remember this?
I do remember.
And I said, "You're going to lock yourself in that room.
Semi-embarrassing, but I do remember.
And you're gonna call all these people. But first, you're going to call me. You're going to be in that room and you're going to call me. We're going to rehearse. I'm going to be in another room. You pretend like you're calling somebody so we can practice before you start calling people," because she was really nervous. So I go through this with her a few times, role-playing the whole situation, and then she starts calling. And
he was actually really mean, too. He was a mean, cold...
But I had to be a difficult caller with her so that she could find everybody else easy.
Yes.
So it was just the
That's
process,
true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you hear Michael Jordan stories or Kobe Bryant, they trained harder in the gym than they actually felt like they were playing, in the real world. So hard that everything else felt easy. And that's why, they played the way they played. So I was, going through that. And if being I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, always, but especially back then, even my meetings, I used to start it off with the Chicago Bulls theme. That little theme. So whenever anybody in the office would hear in the loudspeakers that theme come on, everybody used to go into the conference area to have the meeting. I would just start off that meeting. That's when I was ready. That's when everybody came in. So, I'd had her, rehearse with me, practice. And then she started making her phone calls. She starts getting appointments. And she's like, "Oh, okay, this works." I say, "Yeah, that works. All right, let's go out and do door knocking." And she was like, No, I can't do that. That's in person. They're going to, I can't do that. And then slowly, we do a door or two. And then she goes, "Oh, I think I could do this." And she starts knocking. And after a while, she realizes I'm not with her on any of the doors that she's knocking. So now she's knocking on her own. She didn't like it, but she did it. And then I remember saying, "Well, we have to do open houses. This is how you do an open house." I let her see 2 open houses, and then she was like, "Okay, I think I can try it." The third one, the fourth one, she did 45 open houses that year.
Oh, wow.
45. No one else had done that.
So I just
no one else. She was doing Saturdays and Sundays, and sometimes Wednesday evenings. You remember the Twilight ones you used to do?
So I was just searching for, how can I get myself out there? How can I almost expose myself, right, to let people know I'm a realtor, I'm in the business, I'm brand new, fired up, I'm enthusiastic, and I've got all the time in the world to dedicate to you.
Right. And that's exactly what she did. So she went from not having, any business to creating her own momentum, and then closing after closing after closing. And 6 months in, 7 months in, she's like as seasoned as anybody else is, because she has put so much time. Those 10,000 hours of time that you have to put into any activity to be able to master that craft, she put it in a shorter amount of time than anybody else. As far as dedicating all this effort into one particular task at a time, she did it. Where everybody else's training would have taken a year to a year and a half to get good at being a good realtor, she did it in about 5 to 6 months. By her 7th month, she was like, "I think I'm doing okay." And I said, "Yeah, I think you're doing okay too. I think you're ready to be a mentor." Because right now you're fresh enough still that you remember everything you did to get to this point, and I think you could, teach other people. So I selected her and 2 other people, and I was like, man, these other mentors that I have aren't as tenacious as she was. So I was kind of testing out to see who's going to make a better mentor, the person who's that tenacious or the person who's a little bit more laid back and going after it. And her mentee, she was able to identify all the people right away. Oh, this mentee is not going to make it. This one's going to make it. Because of the way she was, she noticed that these people didn't have that. And so she was a good, barometer for me figuring out which agents were going to make it or not. Because a lot of agents weren't behaving the way she behaved, right, and trying to acquire as much knowledge in a short amount of time. And so she was very, very tenacious. to that word. And I remember I'm using tenacious because that was a word that a lot of other agents started using after that, because I realized, and I remember the first person who asked you, when are you getting out of the business?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the first people that I heard use the word tenacious in her direction, because I realized, she's not getting out of the business. She's, literally, and I keep saying the word tenacious because that's the word that they were using. And it says, she's not getting out of the business. This person's really after this business. And, that's when I realized, okay, might be a good person to keep an eye on. Maybe we can partner up to become a good team. And a year later, we're actually humming along, great. Oh, you do that open house, I do this one. Oh, we have 3 things. We might have to add a person to our team. So we started growing and doing business. And it was good. It was a good 17-year run.
And I was having a lot of fun with it. I used to do like balloon arches at my open houses, and like I was having a lot of fun with it. And people enjoyed coming to my open houses. I would meet people, and I just had a goal to do open houses, get myself into networking events, chasing after expireds and things like that. And my goal was I was in search for those that needed my help, right? That needed to work with me. I remember doing an open house.
By the way, you're answering I was going to ask you what sets you apart from other realtors. But
yes.
Okay. Well, I got a lot to talk about. I remember doing this open house, and I'll never forget it. This guy comes in, and he shut the door, which was a little, I don't know. I wasn't sure how to take it. He comes in the house and he shuts the door.
It's a red flag.
And
is this a nightmare story?
No. He goes, and he literally reaches into his pocket and he goes, I brought my checkbook with me. He goes, I'm going to buy this house today.
Oh, wow.
He goes, I've been working, he said, I was working with this realtor that's, they sold my house and they just refused to help me find another home. And I thought, wow, that's sad. Like, you took on the responsibility of helping somebody sell their home, but your goal is not to leave them homeless, right?
Right.
And he did buy the house that day. He literally had his checkbook, and this was at a different time where people wrote, $1,000 check, a good faith deposit to kind of hold the house for them.
Ooh, you're dating yourself again.
I'm just telling the story.
Right.
And, but yeah, and he bought the house that day. So I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. Things are different today. Things are done differently today. But yeah, it was really, I put a lot of hard work into it. I still do today. I still think there's a misconception that hasn't gone away from, 20 plus years ago till today, where people think the business is very easy. It's some kind of get rich quick.
This HGTV.
Yeah.
You mean you don't only show 3 houses and you sell the third one?
And that's just not reality. But, they say reality TV is not real. So, right. And that's very true.
Very scripted, yeah. So do you have any hobbies outside of real estate?
Hobbies? Real estate is my hobby.
Real estate. That's all you do.
I eat, breathe, and sleep real estate. Like, I can't... I think my weakness, or maybe the bad part about it, is that I can't shut it off. Like I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about things. I'm always thinking about real estate. But I do like to have fun, sure. I do like to go to the beach. I love the beach. If I could travel more, I would really love that. I'm a big sports fan. I love playing basketball. I won at a recent networking event. I won this basketball contest. Super proud of that.
I was there. I saw that. Yeah.
I was super proud of that. But yeah, look, I do like to have fun, but I'm very, very focused so much on real estate that I feel like that is my hobby.
All right. So it gave you enough time to think about this already. At the beginning of the show, I asked you if you had any crazy stories. We're going to ask for more than one. So
yes.
Okay.
This is the part. Tell us any crazy stories.
Some crazy stories.
Yeah.
Okay. So
1 or 2. I know.
So I have a couple of stories. Well, I have a lot of stories, but a couple that come to mind. I'm not sure if I shared them before, so forgive me if I did. But I'll start with this one. So we had this listing, and look, it's 2023, right? So a lot of people have cameras, and doorbell cameras and cameras around the house and the whole bit, inside, outside, you name it. And the seller, gets an alert or getting frequent alerts from his camera. The house is vacant, by the way. And he looks on the camera. So there was an appointment set. It was another realtor from another company. And I guess the realtor was running late, 5-10 minutes late or whatever. And the buyer apparently didn't want to wait. So he goes to the side window and he literally, this is on camera, by the way. It's so crazy. He holds up his toddler and they open the window and he sticks his toddler through the window to then go and open the front door.
Oh my goodness. Breaking and entering.
I'm like, what are we teaching
well,
children?
Breaking,
I don't know.
entering.
That is not good. So, it's such an awkward thing, right? Because that's happening. And now how do I explain this to my seller? First of all, that's not okay.
No.
I remember when I called the other agent.
It's actually illegal.
She's like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, no, it didn't happen. We have it on video.
Well, the thing that you don't know is that kid was a realtor.
The kid.
That's why he opened the door.
Right.
Even as realtors, we don't.
He just forgot the super key app, so he was like, "Hey, get me in there."
Is that what happened? I don't know. Is that like endangering the welfare of a child?
4-year-old running through a house.
Yeah, and
it's a good thing that there wasn't a dog inside or something to kill him.
Exactly.
Super dangerous.
It would have bitten him to death.
Or God knows what. I mean, you never know. I do remember this other story that, so it was a multifamily house. A family member of the tenant was buying the house, and I guess the two tenants didn't really get along. And so apparently the tenant had some goats in the basement. Goats, like real goats.
Okay.
And so I remember getting this call literally like the hour before closing that the other tenant, who they weren't getting along, calls the cops. Because I guess they found out that they were buying the house, and now this person they don't like is going to be their landlord. To say that there are goats in the basement, so they're literally like, I don't know, do you say extracting goats? I don't know. They literally had to come and remove the goats from the basement, and like, I don't know. Imagine getting a call where you're like, hold on, we got to put the closing on hold because we have to remove goats. I don't know. I don't even know what they do. Where do they bring them?
Why do you have farm animals in a basement?
In a basement.
Yeah. Well, some of it is like religious stuff and whatever, and I don't get all mixed up in that, but it's just wild. Like to get these calls, you never know in real estate, and I'm sure there's other professions as well where you pick up the phone and you just never know
what you're gonna hear.
What you're gonna get, yeah.
I remember one time I was showing one of my listings, and we're trying to like put some lights on and things like that, and the buyer just keeps touching all the light switches and stuff, which it's kind of like just let the realtor do it, because they'll know what was on, what wasn't, and he's trying to turn the closet lights on and all this kind of stuff, and he's flipping stuff all over the place, and like excessively. I'm like, this is kind of uncomfortable, and anyway, so it was kind of a large house. We wrap up and we're gonna go out the front door, and there's cops everywhere.
Wow.
And apparently, so first of all, they're like, "Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Everything's fine. What's going on?" And apparently, one of the switches was a panic button, and he just kept flipping it, and like it's like an active alarm system.
My goodness.
So even though I think the alarm system technically wasn't on or armed or whatever you want to say.
Wait, so every time they were
so
switching,
he kept flipping it, and they were getting alerted.
They must have been getting a million.
Yeah.
Why isn't the light going on?
And he's just like flipping it, and it was just like excessive. I even remember him.
I actually remember the story. Yeah.
I remember him in the closet, and I'm trying to be like professional and respectful and kind, and like, but at some point you want to just be like, stop touching stuff.
Like, why are all these cops out?
I can only imagine the person responding to that signal.
Yes.
They're like, oh my God.
They'll think something's happened.
No wonder they sent so many police. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was just like a really, really,
wow.
That was like really wild. I mean, I remember I remember this other story. This is actually not really, it's not a great story.
Well, we can skip it then because I don't want. I want you to. I don't want you to, go down. That was a good one to end on. It's crazy story.
Okay, all right. I'll save it for the next one.
Yeah. We have to because we have to do volume 2 of that crazy stories.
I got a bunch
episode.
more. I got a bunch more.
Yes.
What have been your what you would say your biggest challenges in real estate?
Biggest challenges. I think probably my biggest challenge, and this will remain true from when I started in real estate till now, is, a lot of the noise from the outside, right? So, we're in this industry. We know what's going on. We know other professionals that we can rely on to help us through the process, like inspectors and whatever else, or things that need to get looked into. But the challenge of the noise from the outside, right? Like I get a lot of times, I remember one of my clients, his uncle called me and he said, listen, I own a lot of real estate and this is not how it goes and all this kind of stuff. And I said, listen, I respect that. When is the last time that you purchased a home? And he's like 30 years ago, and listen, I totally respect that. But the process has changed significantly, not just from 30 years ago, but just from the last 3 years, right?
Yes.
So, all the noise from the outside, I'll tell you that, I can remember clients, and I remember one specifically who didn't end up buying literally the home of their dreams. I think at the time it was like $400,000. The house was everything they wanted. And when I mean everything, it was everything. And it was like $400,000. And the parents, AKA the sale prevention team, the parents come in and they say, you're paying how much? $400,000. We bought our house for $80,000. You can't pay $400,000 for a house. Oh my
goodness!
And then we kind of go back to the same thing. Well, let me ask you a question. When did you buy your house? The second maybe follow-up question to not be, a jerk about it is if you were selling your home today, would you sell it for $80,000 since you bought it? No, you would sell it for the market value. And so my biggest challenge is kind of combating that noise of, maybe getting advice from people that maybe aren't maybe
updated, maybe
in tune with current market trends and how things are. And obviously we're in a completely different market. People pay over asking.
Yes.
They waive all kinds of contingencies. And so normal is not even a word anymore. I think they're taking it out of the dictionary. No. But to say like what's normal today,
right?
If you haven't been in the industry or even experienced it yourself buying or selling or whatever, it's hard to give people advice on that and help them make the right decisions. Just like if somebody were to come to me and ask me for advice on, I don't know, brain surgery. I have no idea. I don't know anything about brain surgery. And I would actually recommend that they talk to somebody who's either been through it.
Right. Or is a surgeon.
Or is a surgeon, or maybe has a family member or friend who's been through it. But it's hard to kind of sometimes talk somebody off the ledge or explain to somebody the process properly when you have other people kind of putting in their 2 cents. And by all means, I do think it's important to talk to all the decision makers or people that are going to influence you in your purchase or sale, but it's even more important to listen to what the professionals are telling you.
Right. Yeah. Just not to keep harping on that particular point, but somebody who bought the house at $80,000. Back then was also paying 16, 17, and 18% interest versus that person buying at $400,000 and at 5% or 4%. It's it kind of balances out a little bit. So they have to kind of stay in their lane.
Huge challenge for most realtors as well. Dealing with the sales prevention team, we have to teach a course on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and sometimes even the internet is a challenge too, because if we're trying to talk about, oil tanks or asbestos or all kinds of different things, we're trying to tell people what we know and the whole thing. And then, you can look something up online and you're going to be dead tomorrow, whatever. So it's just kind of knowing, hey, this is what we see. This is what the hesitation is or whatever, and trying to get through that in the best way that we can, or resolve it as best as we can.
Right. What do you wish people had told you before you got into real estate?
This is what I would say. That I wish they told me it's not, the good news is it's not 9 to 5, and the bad news is it's not 9 to 5.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So what has your longest, which transaction took the longest to close for you? I may have asked you that before, but
yeah. So we have talked about this before. If you guys don't know, I've been in the industry for it'll be 19 years in January, and so I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And during maybe the bad, I would say I did many pre-foreclosure sales or short sales, and they're not short transactions.
No.
They're just short in their payoffs.
Contrary to the
yes.
popular
So,
belief.
Short sales, I remember I actually did one last year. It took about 18 months.
Ooh.
Not because of me, but sometimes you have somebody who's uncooperative, or you're dealing with a lender or investor, and
Short sales in general take a long time.
and all that stuff. I mean, I've had commercial deals that were several years long. So yeah, I mean, it's not typical to see that now, but back in the day, yeah, short sales, you could be in 18 months, 24 months, and
What advice would you give a new agent?
I would say to really, first of all, if you're not going to be all in, maybe don't actually get in the business. And I don't mean that in the wrong way. It's just that if you can't dedicate yourself to your clients and they're, what's truly best for them, and you're only thinking about making a lot of money, this isn't the business for it. You can do DoorDash and
yeah. I'd like to tell people that if you're in it just to make a quick buck, don't do it. You should be in it. It's a long game. It's a long business. It can be a very rewarding career if you're thinking of being in it long term, because people can smell desperateness on you. People can tell if you're trying to make a quick buck.
Yes.
yeah.
So you have to, always keep your client in mind. Oh, am I doing the best thing for them? Am I really doing this? Is this going to be long term the best move for them? Always think of your client first, and then everything else will fall into place for you.
Exactly. Well said. And I think the other thing I would say is, so you guys know I mentor new agents and I teach these classes, and the majority of people are newer in the industry. But I can't tell you how often, people ask me, what do I need to do to get business? And I go through a whole thing of what they need to do. And they're like, that doesn't work.
Or it sounds like too much work.
Right. And so,
Sounds like too much.
if you really want to be successful in this business, it's not that it's so difficult to do. It's just that you actually have to do the work. This is just a numbers game. It's a contact sport. So if you're going to work at it half of a day per week, that's what you're going to get out of it. If you're going to dedicate yourself to it, have your clients' interests at heart, and do what you need to do to get things done, you'll be very successful at it. But I would just say, you have to understand it's not a get-rich-quick scheme, and, you have to be dedicated to it, and, you have to do the activities to get the results. There's just no other way. There's no top secret thing in this business that says, if you pay X amount of dollars for these leads, you're going to be this super successful agent. That's just not how it is.
Right.
Yep.
And what advice would you give a first-time home buyer these days?
So I would say, meet with your professional.
Right.
The first thing I would say, even before getting pre-approved, and that's typically the first step in the business. The first step in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would really say is schedule an appointment. Ask your family or friends for a referral for a real estate professional. Schedule a consultation with them, and let them explain the whole process to you. Because again, everybody has a little bit of a different experience when they're buying or selling.
Sure.
And, even if you've bought or sold a home in the past, it might be different today. So meet with your real estate professional, do a consultation, let them kind of explain to you, be open-minded, be willing to listen. I think that's the most important part. Of course, then you want to start the pre-approval process, establishing your purchasing power, knowing what kind of loan programs are out there so that when you see a house you love, you're ready to execute.
Cool.
Okay.
Do you have a real estate nickname?
Well, some people say the queen of real estate. I have sort of a motto in the office that somebody gave me, which is, "In Dawn we trust."
Nice.
I love it.
I've heard some different things, but I don't think I have one that's like, it's not like something I go by.
Okay. How about favorite real estate app?
Good question.
Oh, favorite real estate app. Well, first of all, I love Canva. I'm like obsessed with Canva. I love my mortgage calculator. I probably use that more than anything, like literally more than anything, more than my email apps and all that. But I use my mortgage calculator all day long. People are always asking me questions. I probably use that the most, but a huge Canva fan. I love Canva. There's so many things you can do on there. And I just feel like they add more and more stuff every day. I love it.
They are not sponsors of the show.
No.
No.
Maybe we should talk to them.
Yeah.
If you weren't a realtor, what else would you be doing?
I know the answer to that.
I think I revealed this before.
Yes.
So I don't even know what it would be called, but there's a show, they actually do it. I would want to, I don't know if it would be like a journalist or something like that, but I would want to kind of follow people around in different professions and kind of like live a week in their life, right? And see how you know what show it is?
Well, I've seen one like that. I
Yes.
think on Netflix, Obama has,
Yes.
former President Obama has a show where he would follow people.
Yes.
Let's say if you were in the hotel, if you were the waitress at a restaurant, or if you were in a hotel, cleaning, the maid cleaning the rooms. Like I saw one episode where it was like that, where he was following that person around, seeing what their day was like, seeing what their home, how they started their day from home all the way into work and then back home.
I'm so intrigued by that. Super intrigued by that. And I just, I think there's so much in the world that we have no idea how things get from point A to point B,
Sure.
or from A to Z.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe even logistics of like Amazon or whatever. But I am so intrigued by that. That's what I would want to do. I would want to kind of know the day in the life of others and how their businesses run or their processes run. Even if you look at restaurants, right? How do they know how much food to order each week? What if I'm a brand new restaurant?
That's like the whole Anthony Bourdain show.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. He was a great guy. I remember I met him once in New York. Great guy. But his show was amazing because he would go around different parts of the world, right? Different cultures, meeting new people, sitting down with them, having coffee, or just eating a meal, getting to know other people's flavors and just everything about life. So that would be a cool show, just to see other people's work lives. So this is we've come to the rapid fire section of our show. If you watch any other episodes, you'll notice that we asked these following questions: Dunkin' or Starbucks?
Neither.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that okay?
You're not a coffee drinker.
Water.
Yeah, water.
Lunch in the car or restaurant?
Oh, this is a great question. Well, I would love lunch in a restaurant, but that just doesn't happen. Honestly, I eat lunch almost always in the car, not because I want to, but just,
You're always on the go.
sometimes
Yes.
it's just, do I get lunch? And if I get lunch, it's almost always in the car. Yeah.
Okay. And favorite lunch food, go-to lunch food?
Well, I'm on a health kick, so I would say salad or just kind of like a grilled chicken and veggies.
Okay.
It's nothing exciting.
Favorite vacation spot?
DR. I would have to say DR. I love
Yeah.
DR. Yeah.
Any particular spots in DR?
I like to go to one place and then go to other places from there. I'm not just a person that wants to go to the resort.
Okay,
There's
so
a
not,
lot
so
of
not
great.
Punta Cana?
Not Punta Cana.
I mean, I like Punta Cana. It's great, but I don't think you can really experience the country just from flying into Punta Cana. You can go.
Okay.
No disrespect on that, but just when you go to fly into resorts, I don't think you really get to experience the country, the
Right.
culture, the food.
Right.
It's a completely different experience.
Of course.
How about favorite town in New Jersey?
I think I would have to say Ridgewood.
Yeah?
I love Ridgewood.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Montclair or something else other than Ridgewood.
Ridgewood, Wyckoff, like that whole
Okay.
cluster. I really like that area a lot.
Got it.
Yeah.
So which towns do you service? We're just trying to round out the segment with to get a feel of where we know we're in Jersey.
Sure.
But where in Jersey do you service?
I'll just say counties then, if that's okay. So
Sure.
I'm a Bergen and Passaic County person. I can branch out from there. I also know Essex County really well, Morris County,
You used to sell a lot in Hudson County also.
Hudson. Yep. And then I have coverage just from others where we can cover Monmouth, Ocean, Union, Sussex.
You have people on your team from Monmouth,
On my
right?
team and also referral partners. So, I mean, I'm pretty much covered in the majority of North Jersey and Central Jersey and, some South Jersey.
Okay. But you focus on Bergen and
Bergen
Passaic?
and Passaic County
Bergen and
are
Passaic.
pretty much my focus.
Got it. Where can the public reach you on social media?
Well, I'm not a huge social media person.
Okay.
But Instagram, dawn.salesnj.
Okay.
You can find me there.
Yeah,
But
I know you're not a keeper of your own account. Other people do that for you, right?
I'm not. That's right.
So
That's right.
yeah, I know you're not a big social media person, but I know you're on Facebook because we're friends there.
Yes, we're Facebook friends.
All right. So thank you so much for
Well, thank
joining
you.
us.
It's great to
as a
be on
guest.
this side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Dawn, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Appreciate you guys.
And this is Realtors Radio Network signing off.
Keep an ear out for the next episode of the Realtors Radio Network, where Santos Garcia, Marcos Suarez, and Dawn McCullough share their wealth of real estate knowledge. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, review, and share. Find us on social media at Realtors Radio Network. See you next time on the Realtors Radio Network.